Welcome back to Hollywood Impact. We're talking about the monkey today. The monkey!
The monkey!
I always think of that thing from SpongeBob where he's like, the monkey's fist! The monkey! You know, so like, I'll pull it up. It's funny.
The monkey chain! The monkey's fist! The monkey!
We like to break down our stuff in about 4 categories, and that goes the performances, the story, the atmosphere, and the impact, which is something kind of special to us. So we're going to go ahead and get into it. How are the performances in this movie, Zach?
Not too shabby, honestly. I was kind of surprised. I think the main thing, I believe his name is Theo.
Yeah, Theo James.
Okay. I know I'm going to call him Four a lot because that's the only other thing I know him from.
Yeah, that's the only other thing I've ever seen him from.
But
by the way, that's tough for you, man. Sorry.
I actually was impressed, mainly because of his narrating skills, oddly enough.
Sure.
Somehow his voice, whenever he's narrating the early part of the movie, I was like, wow, I think he should narrate more movies. And then his actual performance is not bad, especially since he's a twin, so he's playing two people.
Right.
So, and you can tell the difference, and it's okay. But for the narration, I actually liked he should talk more and do more voice acting, in my humble opinion.
I think Theo James is probably the only good actor in this movie.
Yeah, I agree with that.
The narration is fine. I'd say that the performances overall are just, they're whatever.
Yeah.
I can tell you and I are going to have a difference of opinion for this movie. Theo James is the only bright spot, and he has to do a couple things that are very awkward, and there's times where he has to go, he plays twin, and so sometimes going back and forth, it's pretty seamless, but there's nobody else that even I think does a decent job except for maybe the mom. The mom does okay, but the mom is just more of a plot device than anything.
Yeah, she tries the hardest out of all of them other than Theo, I would say. But it's not that kind of. I was telling my sister after the movie, this is a hard movie to grade because they're not trying to be a critical success.
Right.
So I'm giving them a bit of a boost for the kind of movie that it is.
Yeah, I'm not.
Uh-oh.
Which is going to bring me to the story. The story in here, I think, is terrible. I hate it. I don't like the story in this movie. I think it has interesting elements with the monkey, being this cursed object that just brings death and wrath upon whatever vicinity that it's in. That is an interesting concept, but that's it. That's the only thing I like about it. I don't think it does most of the characters any of the favors. It's a horror comedy. It's not full-on horror trying to scare you, but I wasn't there for it. I don't know if it's just an off night, but I just couldn't. I couldn't get invested.
You could almost argue there's no story. There is a story, but there's really no point. It's just a monkey that's being passed down generation to generation just because. If you've seen Final Destination, and I tell you this is a comedic version of Final Destination, then you get it.
Yeah.
That's the movie.
I will say this movie does keep your engagement. It's not boring.
And I think that kind of goes back to the performances. Final Destination's terrible acting. This one they try. Some of them try, I should say.
Yes.
But yeah, story, you're not there for the story.
Yeah.
And now granted, the trailer didn't lean into the comedy that much to me.
No, the trailer makes the movie seem more interesting than I think it is.
Yes, so that could, if you have expectations of that could really... yeah.
Poo-poo.
Poo-poo stinky.
Now, the atmosphere. The atmosphere is the music, the audio, the visual effects, all the things that would enhance a film. And I think some of the visuals are okay. Some of the way in which people die, I wasn't really there for it, but at least the effects were interesting.
Yeah.
But it seemed a little bit too B-movie for me. And as a person who loves film, there's something about B-movies that I just can't get into.
Yeah.
And I don't, that may just be just a stick with me, but it's super campy and not in the Sam Raimi Spider-Man kind of campy. It's campy as in people were laughing at jokes, or there's audio cues or visual cues that they're oh my gosh. And my wife would just look right at me and I'm shaking my head. I'm not getting into it. I'm sorry. There's 2 good scenes in the movie where I'm that's freaky. There's like a close-up on the monkey pretty early in the movie, and there's super loud. That part freaked me out.
Yeah.
That freaked me out.
The monkey's freaky.
It is freaky, but then it goes away. Then there's a scene with the mom. It just happens during a dream, and it's very intense, super intense. And I'm like,
that was a good one.
I'm like, if you used those elements and forgot the comedy portion of it and made it into just a straight horror movie, this could have been a much better film.
Yeah. I think the music, not much there, it's classic horror. It's more audio cues. I like some of they do this a lot. They'll say something, and as part of the joke, they make a cut to like either they're already dead or it's as they're getting killed, no build up. And some of them I like, but some of them are like, man, why'd you do that? Like you took away tension for jokes. Some of the jokes land, some of them don't. Are we gonna do any spoiler at all on this one?
I don't think so.
Okay. I'll just say at the end, there's deaths that are like super, it's like a fourth wall death. And that was like that's the main thing I didn't like about the movie was that. I'm sure you can tell what I'm talking about with the fourth wall.
Absolutely.
And like when they die, it's like straight from Scary Movie. I was like, that's way too far.
And even the one right before that in the same area.
Weird.
I'm like, that is very, I get it that there's like a cursed force that's working upon stuff. I'm like, but some of these deaths are just kind of unbelievable.
Yeah.
And when it gets to that point, like it completely just takes me out of it.
Yeah.
The impact going into our actual like thoughts, our personal thoughts about it. 3 people walked out of this movie that I was in. I think 4 actually.
Really?
I think 4 people walked out. 3 of them halfway through. 1 I think later on that. I just don't remember seeing come back. Maybe he did. It's a small theater ring, so I'm pretty sure it's 4. That was a good indicator for me.
I'm surprised.
I am surprised because it's not like it didn't keep my engagement, but I would never pay to see this movie again, and I would never stream it. I know I'm being harsh, but I'm never like this with films.
No, you're not.
He knows nobody like. Do you know how hard it is for me to give a film under like a 5? Like, I'm hinting towards that right now. You'll find out what it is, but it was difficult for me, and I was like, I apologized to my wife. I was like, I'm sorry.
Dang.
Like, I'm sorry that we spent money on this. And I say this in the nicest way. If you feel like you're interested in going to go see it, go see it. But if you have any sense of doubt, save your money, wait for it to come on streaming.
I think the only way you should go see it in the theater is if you like Final Destination.
Yeah, those kind of movies.
If you genuinely like those movies, even if I didn't like them, I do like this movie. Like to me it was entertaining, but like you really need to go in with the mindset that it's a comedy. It's not an actual horror movie. They're trying to get jokes. If the jokes won't land, you're gonna hate it. So
agreed.
It's little to no impact. I think that really genuinely speaks to like this is one of the first hit and misses I think we've recorded, like a true hit or miss.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say it's a hit, but I definitely like it more than you did.
You had fun.
Yeah, like
you had fun with it.
I didn't feel like I wasted money.
No. I feel like I did. So, which I knew this was going to be interesting because something like this has never happened in the short history that we've done this.
Right.
This is the first time. So let's go into the score. I want you to go first.
Now granted, you got to keep in mind, this is like, I'm giving it points for like the genre it's going for. It's ignoring like trying to be a good movie. And even with all that weightedness, I'm giving it like a 6. And it's mainly because I keep going back to Joker 2. That's the one movie I've watched in the last year and a half where I was like, I hated that movie. I wish I didn't spend money on it. Yeah. And this is not there for me personally, but like I liked some of the jokes, some of them didn't land. So giving it like help, it's a 6. I would rather watch this than Brave New World.
Wow. I can't agree with that in any sense of the word. This has
soul, whereas like Brave New World does not have soul to me.
Oh, man. I'm not going to give it the extra boost that he gave it. I'm going to grade you based on the experience that I had, which is, in most cases, I give a lot of films help for certain aspects like that. So I'm not trying to be a hypocrite, but there's a lot of films in this niche that I actually do enjoy, like Scream and stuff like that. There are campy horror films that I actually find to be funny or entertaining, and this wasn't one of them. So I'm going to give it a 2.5.
Yeah.
That's probably the lowest score I've given a film in a long time.
I think it is.
And if you want an explanation for why I graded it a 2.5, I'm going to pull up this right here that I've been working on. And that is my scale of how I rate films. 1 is I'd rather watch paint dry, which I wouldn't. That's like, you got to be real bad to get down there. And then 3 is like straight to DVD classic. And I don't see this as being like a straight to DVD classic. This is like, you've watched all the horror movies in the world. This is maybe the one that you haven't seen. It's on a streaming service. You got a free night. It's only an hour and a half long, whatever.
That's probably the biggest pro of this movie. Is that it's an hour and a half.
That's tough. So our average out score is going to be low, but that's mostly because of me, because I genuinely had a bad experience, not with the theater, not with the other people, but the actual movie.
Yeah.
And I'm disappointed because I'm usually a big movie optimist.
And I think that's truly, even though it's a low score, that preaches to me that this is a true hit or miss. Because even though I think this is good, 6 is still not that high for me.
Right.
I agree. Like, if I had a bad experience, that would definitely lower my score a bunch. Because I agree with you. Like, I'm all about experience. Was my money worth it? And since this was okay, but still not like a great movie, in reality, this is probably like a 4 out of 10. Like, just being, if I was being super critical, but like I had a good time. Some of the deaths I thought were interesting, so I'm gonna give it like a 6. Compared like to other movies I've seen, that all comes into play for me. But yeah, I don't think a 2.5 is even that like too harsh. Like, if
So that's tough.
if you had a bad experience, then it's a bad movie.
Yeah.
I don't think there's nothing wrong with that.
I mean, that's just how we feel about it.
Yeah.
Anyways, thanks for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And of course, have a good one.
Bye
We'll see
bye.
you later.